teacher and missionary in the Mount Gambier district between 1854 and 1893. She dedicated her life to helping local Aboriginal people, the Boandigs, survive the disastrous impact of European settlement in South Australia. With her strong Christian attitude, she undertook to improve the conditions of the Aborigine, to teach them European ways, and convert them to Christianity. Unwittingly perhaps, she, like other missionaries working with Indigenous people around the world, may have assisted in the destruction of traditional values and the traditional structure of the Boandigs. Christina was a remarkable woman. At the request of a number of Aboriginal people, she wrote a book about their customs, language, and legends. In 1865, 5 years after the death of her husband, she opened a home for Aborigines in Mount Gambier. Christina is with us now, telling the story in her own words of the way things were here, which she wrote in her journal in 1880.
Good day, kind people. I am Christina Smith, a humble servant of the Lord, wife of Mr. James Smith and mother of Duncan, who is the native interpreter in this district. Such a clever boy, he learnt the Boandic language at an early age and became a native interpreter at the age of 14 or thereabouts. The Boandics are the local Aboriginal people. I wrote this little work on the Boandic tribe, having been intimately acquainted with them for over 35 years. It is merely a journal on my life whilst in their midst, and I wish to assure you that I wrote it solely from a strong sense of duty. This once numerous and powerful tribe of southeastern natives has sadly withered away because of life cruelly forced upon them by European settlers. The Aborigines themselves are fully conscious of the decline of their race and lament it bitterly. Many have requested that I not allow them to be totally forgotten. It is not difficult to understand their consternation and fear at the first sight of Europeans. About the year 1822 or 1823, the first ship was seen by the natives in Riverlea Bay. Some thought it was a drifting island, and all who saw it became alarmed and sought a hiding place. Pendowin, Neiman, and Barrack Burnham, my favourite old women, told me of a night of great fear during the early times of European settlement. Encamped with a group between Mount Muirhead and Gweech'en Bay, the women said they felt the earth beneath them shake, thunder in the ground. All were sure they would be killed. Even the birds were screaming with fear. When daylight came, they heard what they believed to be a ghost calling out. Meh, meh. The terrifying sound continued. Filled with terror, the group peeped through the bushes. What they saw were creatures, the likes of which they'd never before encountered. Sheep, cattle, horses, and a bullock dray. The sound that had so terrified them was the bellowing of the cattle, which they interpreted as an expression of rage. Of course, once the natives grew accustomed to these animals, they regarded them as lawful game, fit to be hunted for food, just as kangaroos or emus were. However, many of the European settlers dispensed savage justice when their stock was killed. Disgusting! They hunted the Aborigines and shot them down like dogs. There is an opinion generally held among Europeans that the Aborigines of Australia are too low, intellectually and morally, to be either Christianised or civilised. Proof that this is entirely erroneous can be seen at several mission stations in South Australia, where, under God's blessing, the blacks have been greatly improved. But of course, the relationship of the natives with the European colonists has been their ruin. The Aborigines have, generally speaking, adopted the very worst vices of the Europeans, and the results were swift and terrible. They have become more susceptible to disease than before their country was invaded by the white man. And, aided by drink and infanticide, the once fine race of Aborigines that peopled this district has nearly been extinguished. The Boandic people retain a strict social structure. Mere infants are betrothed to one another by their parents. When the children grow to maturity, they then bestow presents of an eating nature upon their mothers, such as a pair of ducks, a leg of wombat, or a tender young emu. The father in each family is, of course, lord of the soil. When food is cooked in the hot ashes, he is the first to receive his share and throws what he cannot eat over his shoulder to his female partner, who sits waiting in the shade. When a baby is about to be born, a nurse is sent to help the mother and watch her in case she attempts to harm either herself or the baby. It is customary for a woman about to give birth to retire to some pleasant part of the country. On the journey home, she has to sleep with her child in the open air every night without any shelter. And even when she reaches home, she has to lie at her cold, savage husband's door without a kind word to soothe her. It is not until the following night that he allows his wife and baby inside. I frequently plead with husbands to treat their wives kindly, but to no avail. So much of Aboriginal life is based on custom. When someone is ill, the pangal or doctor is sent for, and he examines the patient from head to toe. He squeezes the muscles with his fingers, takes a mouthful of water, and spits it all over the person before loudly reciting a long incantation. The pangal then puts his mouth on the area of pain and sucks it, grunting and hissing. He pulls and drags the sufferer about, most unmercifully.
Battery is 85%.
At last, he finds a piece of flint or a piece of bone like this, which he pretends to have removed and with great pride shows it to the patient. They had no cure for snake bites. No amount of sucking and hissing could cure the one bitten, and they died. The manner in which the blacks perform the burial ceremony is most interesting. A grave is dug about 3 feet into the ground, and it is made perfectly round. A fire is made in it to warm the earth, but not enough to heat the body. The corpse is bent double, rolled in an opossum skin, and laid in the grave with its head toward the west. It is then covered with bark, and the grave is filled with earth. The blacks believe that after death, the spirit goes somewhere to the sea. Death found its way amongst our home inmates, and the impact upon us all was very severe. Some of the natives who have come under our training and to whom we showed the way to salvation know that God will accept them into his happiness as believers in his Son, Jesus Christ. One such believer was Short Billy, whose spirit passed away in December 1867. Shortly before his death, I asked Short Billy what made him so contented and calm. Christ all day, Christ all night, make me right, he replied. I asked if he had any message to his friends. Tell those good friends, poor Billy is gone to heaven. I held his hand as he left us. and prayed that he was in the arms of the Lord.
Nasıl güzel.